first and foremost, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Martin. I'm very excited, mostly because I know that while I was still in the seat, we were looking at opportunities of trying to
Hmm.
connect at some point. Our schedules were always busy,
Yeah.
so I'm very excited that about 9 months into retirement for me, that I'm able to come and spend some time with you and your team.
Thanks. Before I get into questions, I have something for you just to help you out. It's just a little, so, so you don't forget. So yeah,
Please keep it on there. Keep that name tag on.
yeah. In case Mike Perry comes on, so it's he was worse though. He was like, at least you owned up to it. Mike was like, man, what's up, brother? Like, and I knew damn well he didn't. And it's just he kept trying to play it off, and uh,
You better tag Mike Perry on that one. But you need to tell the audience, right? Like they're wondering why we're laughing.
yeah. So a few months ago, late September, early October, we both attended in Atlanta, and you, of course, were one of the honorees. I think for "We Are the Mighty," right? One of the top 25.
Yes.
And I had no idea what you were going to be. So that was kind of cool to see you there. It was like worlds colliding, and this wasn't like an active duty conference where people in uniform. Everyone, mostly everyone there, if they're not retired military, they're associated with the veteran community
Yeah.
somehow. So for everyone listening, I saw Chief Bass there, and long story short, I went up and started talking to her. And what was funny is you and I we've had about 6 conversations over the past 3 years, and you didn't remember it, but I get it, right? And we were in civilian clothes, but it was so funny because at a conference in Dallas in 2023, you and I spoke for about 20 minutes, and and I was like, man, she's gonna remember me now. And then when you didn't remember me in Atlanta, uh, I was like, man, oh my god. But what was really funny is, but we ended up. Mitchell was there, and I didn't realize Mike Perry was there too. So you had texted him to come on down to meet with us. Now, Mike, I'm gonna give no grace for because a month before we were at a conference in Houston, and he talked to me like twice over the course of 2 days for like 20 to 30 minutes, and like, Foster, what's up, man? Now I was in uniform during that conference in Houston, and then Atlanta, and I knew he knew the face, but then rather than like, hey man, I don't remember the name, he was trying to play, what's up, guy? What's up, man? My guy. Like, I know it was so funny. I'm not
So
doing that story justice, but
So, a couple data points.
yeah,
First, for everybody who's serving and/or wears a uniform, uniforms are a blessing, right? It says your name on it, so we love it. Thank goodness for uniforms too. Yeah, Martin, you actually share that story well, except for it was worse on my end because we had connected at the MIC conference, which, by the way, encourage anybody and everybody to go to. But we were at the MIC conference and we're just chatting. And I
yeah.
said, hey, I put my hand out and shake your hand. I'm like, have we met before? And you're like, yeah, about 6 times. And so, anyway, so that I felt horrible. I felt horrible. Again, this is one of those, hey, everybody has superpowers.
Yeah.
And evidently that is not one of mine. But in any case, very excited to be here on the show with you. Happy New
Happy
Year!
New Year.
It's going to be a phenomenal year, and I'm really excited to kick it off with you guys.
Why is life great right now?
Um, there's so many reasons for life to be great. Here, first and foremost, right? Like I could easily say, "Hey, life is great for me personally because I've had a chance to, serve in the world's greatest Air Force. I retired. I have more time for my family. I'm able to do all the
Yeah.
things. That's part of it." But some of why I would say life is great is because it's a matter of mindset. And I've determined years and years ago that the power of the mind is really an extraordinary thing. And if you think life is great, and if you assume life is great, then guess what? Great things are just going to happen. It's just, I don't know. I'll be honest with you, Martin. And this is no joke, for the last probably 5 years or so, There is not a day that goes by that before I even put my feet on the floor every single morning, I do not say it's going to be a great day.
Mm.
Or maybe I said that backwards. Like there's not a day that goes by that I don't say those words. So literally before my feet even touch the ground, I'm like, today's going to be a great day. Feet touch the ground and we move out. So anyway, life is great. There's, are there challenges? Yes, there's challenges, but I just choose to be super excited and content and all those things. And so for me, life is great.
No, that's awesome. You talked about mindset, and life is always going to be full of challenges. I like you said, giving yourself the positive affirmations, or just kind of the mindset was saying today's going to be a great day. But with your position, because even before you were CMSAF, you were Second Air Force, big scope. How do you teach or what's your advice for someone trying to learn the skill of detachment?
What now? Explain to me what you mean by detachment. By the way, for everybody who's listening, we didn't go through this, so I have no idea what
Yeah.
Martin's about to ask. But explain to me, or can you share that in a different way?
Yeah, just how do you, because you're always going to be the subject of criticism,
Yeah.
right? We see it with General Brown. We see it with, I mean, any leader, right?
Hey, we're going hardcore
No,
criticism.
I got
We're
some
not
good
even
ones.
like 5 minutes in the show.
Hey, I'll tell you what, let's put a pin in that question. I
Okay.
got a lighter question to start it off, right? So
Can
you're
we
knowing,
warm up? Can we hold on? Let me help us warm up as I get a drink
perfect.
with my
Hey, hold
Kansas
that, hold that, hold that. I got a perfect question. No, like that perfect question for you. Two questions for you. All right, so you will be remembered for many things, but how detrimental to your legacy will being a Kansas City Chiefs fan be?
I think it is a great one. Here's what I love about that. By the way, some people are like, "Oh, was she a bandwagon
No.
Chiefs fan?" The answer is no. I've been married to my husband Ron Bass for many, 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 many years. He was born and raised in Kansas, and so through marriage, I'm a
Yeah.
Chiefs fan. I'll be honest, I did not though. Follow and get super excited about the Kansas City Chiefs until Andy Reid picked up Patrick Mahomes. And when he did, what was that like? That was back in 18,
Something
20.
like that. Yeah,
Anyway,
2017,
in any
2018. Yeah.
case, when he picked him up, I'll be honest. I love the aspect that he grabbed somebody so junior, because at that time I remember telling my husband, I said, "Man, I could do an ALS speech on this," and the ALS speech would be play your freshman. Like
Mm.
we have in the United States Air Force or any branch of the military or any organization, you have talent on the bench. Sometimes they just happen to be your most junior folks. And sometimes you have to just put it out there. You have to be wise like Andy Reid. You have to understand the game and you have to play your freshmen. And so anyway, so Chiefs fan, I love it, but I also loved sharing that in the capacity that I served in, because it would lighten things up, right?
It's
Like
yeah.
sometimes we're not short of challenges in the military, and so to be able to just take a pause and talk about football, like what's better than that?
No, that's great. And one of the things the Chiefs have played in like 100 Super Bowls. It seems like now, where they've been so dominant. But I forget which Super Bowl. But I love that. Yeah, of course you're throwing it. I'm a Bears fan, so I'm just bitter. Um, I'm also bitter because that same draft that Mahomes was in, the Bears traded up from the number 3 pick to the number 2 pick and drafted Mitch Trubisky. When anyway, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm still upset about it, but we're here to talk
Your
about
your
you.
your listeners, by the way, are probably of a different generation, but some of them might be in this generation where we remember the Bears. I mean, they did this thing called the Super Bowl
Mhm.
Shuffle. I mean, remember that they were cool way back then.
But I like that you said you brought some just insight to your personal life, like you're a Chiefs fan, like, and I remember one of the Super Bowls, you posted a picture where General Brown was over your house for a Super Bowl party, and I thought that was great. And did you make lumpia? I remember you posting pictures of lumpia.
Yes, yes, I did. I actually think I can't remember if he was there for the Super Bowl party. If he was there, I remember one time inviting General Brown and Mrs. Brown to the house when the Chiefs were playing the Cowboys, his team.
Mm.
And here's a valuable lesson that I learned, and this for all your audience members. Never invite your boss over when your teams are playing, right? Like that was the worst, because when the Chiefs scored on the Cowboys, and they did, like I couldn't even really celebrate. It was like, oh yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, and
Oh.
here's the chief of staff sitting on my couch, really stoic. Yeah, so
I have one more lighter question for you, then we'll get into some serious
okay,
ones.
okay,
All right, if you were to host a Super Bowl, we'll say the Chiefs make the Super Bowl again this year,
yeah.
because that's very possible. And if you were to host another Super Bowl party, what one celebrity would you invite over to your party?
Well, I can't invite Patrick Mahomes. So I'll be honest. I don't know that I would invite any celebrity to my house. I'd probably invite, if I could, right, a group of some of our more junior airmen. Like, I
Hmm,
think that'd actually be fun.
that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably do that. In fact, I used to do that for Thanksgiving, where it'd be pretty fun, have some defenders come to the house and allow us to feed them. So
Yeah,
I'd probably invite some folks that people would probably not otherwise expect.
no, it's awesome. All right, so moving into some other topics. We were originally going to do this before the new year, and again, like schedules, right? Like life be life, and but one of the things I wanted, just over email, we were discussing about what we could talk about. But now in the new year. What's one thing you're leaving behind in 2024, and then what are you looking forward to in 2025?
Um, I don't know that I have anything that I'm leaving behind in 2024. And I think what I mentioned to you, Martin, is I would have loved to have had this discussion beforehand, because I actually love to share with folks kind of something that's really helped me, a practice that's helped me over the last dozen or so years. And that's really kind of having a debrief culture, if you will.
Hmm.
And so, one of the things that I do the last 2 weeks of the year is always really just kind of debrief, right? Like I look back at January 2024 and kind of just look at all the things personally as well as professionally. What went well, what didn't. Are there things that I could have done differently? How could I have showed up to be my best? And so it's never a, hey, I'm going to leave this behind. It's always lessons learned so that I could just move forward better. And so I'll be honest, 2024 was a phenomenal year. We had an opportunity to close it out strong, getting after some of the initiatives that we were focused on while serving in uniform. We had some really strong, irreversible momentum on some things like warrant officers,
Yeah.
the enlisted pay raise, which there's more that needs to happen. But there were some big strategic level things that we want to focus on. So professionally, I felt very happy about that. Personally, I had an opportunity again to retire. It was not COVID, so all of my family were able to actually come and celebrate. My youngest daughter graduated from high school, and I got an opportunity to just throttle back and really spend some time with the family, and really do some reintegrating. I was telling somebody recently that I'm a big believer in reintegration training from deployment, by the way, but it's kind of that way even when you take this uniform off. Like me and my husband had to learn how to reintegrate in a way that we never have before. And so there's nothing I would perhaps leave in 2024. I think it's all great lessons learned. The other thing that I do in the last 2 weeks of the year is focus on what do I hope and what do I see 2025 looking like, and kind of what's my personal and professional strategic plan on how to get after some of those things. And so anyway, that's what I'm hoping to get out of 2025 is just some more meaningful quality time with my family and friends who, I had a great career and I was able to try my best to make all those moments count. But there were certainly a lot of missed holidays, missed opportunities,
Yeah.
missed events. And so now is my year to try to help do some catch up and just pop in and see friends that I hadn't been able to pour into and spend time with my kiddos.
No, that's awesome. I love that. Were there any unexpected highlights from 2024?
Um, Probably how amazing retirement was going to be.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to be funny. Like, I don't think there's a week that goes by that I don't look at Ron Bass and say, dude, like, did I tell you how much I love retirement? Yeah, and it really is because in my mind, we left everything out on the field and we did our best. And now I can cheer on those who are still serving, such as yourself, and cheer on Chief Master in the Air Force Flossie and everybody else, General Alvin and General Brown as the chairman, and do my part. But I don't know that there were any unexpected highlights. Just the fact that I love what I'm doing.
No, it's great. Yeah, and it's cool to see. I remember when you became the CMSAF in August of 2020, you talked about for your retirement, it was nice to actually have family be in attendance because if you go back to, you took over at the very top of COVID and yeah. I did want to go back a little bit to your time as CMSAF. Was there anything like reflecting back? Was there anything new that you learned that you didn't expect to?
Yes, yes, and yes. Everything, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, when I got selected and served, back in August of 2020, as you mentioned, we were knee deep in COVID. We didn't get a playbook, by the way.
Yeah.
The globe didn't get a playbook. The nation didn't get a playbook. The United States Air Force didn't get a playbook on how to lead through COVID. And so we were very much figuring that thing out. But I'm very proud at the way the United States Air Force executed. We never quit training. We never quit getting after it. But that was probably very unexpected. And that changed a lot of how things went. When I look back, though, I mean, I think it ended up, perfect. It allowed me an opportunity, for the most part, the first few months getting in the seat is to really be in the Pentagon to spend time cultivating the relationships that you have to get in there. And then, I think the other thing that probably surprised me maybe the most, and maybe surprised isn't the right word, is just how much the information domain was going to challenge us as a society, as a nation, more now, even today, than ever before in history, right? Like when you think back to even the early 2000s, for those of us who are old enough to remember that time, we just weren't as connected and stuck on our devices, and hence media wasn't as divided, people weren't as divided, society wasn't as divided. So that, the space that we're in is challenging, not defeating though. We have an opportunity to get beyond that, but that was a challenge. And to the degree of how quick information gets pushed across. I mean, if something happens in Korea today, within a matter of seconds, we all know
Yeah.
what's happening, right? Doesn't matter. And we're in this information age where it can be potentially dangerous because he who puts the information out first wins, whether it's true or not. And so here we are in this information age. Here I am, like Chief Bass, just trying to, serve and do the things that I'm supposed to do. And for the first time ever, especially once I got named Chief Master in the Air Force, the rush of the information domain comes and people are pushing information out there on me that is true and untrue. And I'm seeing it now for the first time ever. When I was just normal Joe Bass at Second Air Force, I didn't fully see what others see, and I certainly didn't feel it. But when I was selected for the position, and now here I am, part of this ecosystem, that was probably most surprising to me. How fast information flows, how quickly the disinformation can get put out there, and how damaging it can potentially be.
Yeah, would you say from the day that your first day of effective retirement, so June of last year, if you were to go back to that moment, we'll say you're walking out the Pentagon, that seems to be when they show the people getting the clap out and all that stuff. From that moment, what would you say you're running? If someone were to ask you in that moment what you're running from, and what
Yeah.
you're running toward, what would your answer be?
Man, you got these deep questions,
So,
Mark. We're not even talking about, hey, what's your goals and aspirations? Okay.
I got
What
some
am I
lighter
running
stuff if
for?
you want to
Like,
go.
I don't even think about this kind of stuff. So
This is how I work. This is
this
how I
is
work.
this is why, Intel folks are God's special people.
You told
But
me that in Atlanta because I remember we were talking with Amber Mitchell. She remembered my name and not you though. Anyway, sorry. By the way, she took a couple pictures of my phone when I left it at the bar, like when I was getting drinks, and it's hilarious. And I was going through my photos, I see like just random ones of Amber Mitchell like taking
so funny.
selfies. But
What am I running from? If I had to choose something, because this is fresh off the cuff, I'm probably running from bureaucracy.
mm,
I'm running from constrained thinking, and I'm running away from status quo. If I had to come up with some things I'm running from,
okay,
what am I running to? I would say an unconstrained environment where the sky's the limit. There's no box to which we're put in, and we can do anything that we want to do. Will we imagine enough to get after that?
that's a great answer. That was really
I mean, you're
good.
making me get deep. Like, let me get in.
All right, I'll give you a lighter question, then we'll get back into some more focused topics. If if you could pick one theme song for 2025, what would it be?
Um, who runs the world?
Okay, like it.
And Beyonce, who runs the world, girls.
Yeah, I got you. Bino, are you part of the Beehive? So, so I'm a little bit older than I think you. I'm 43, and we were talking about this because you thought I was a younger like chief too, and I was like, no, I've been in for a little bit. So I just hit. I'll be at 23 when I retire. But
Very cool.
so I want to go back because I'm very interested in you. What would you say are misconceptions about Joe Bass, and then separately, what are misconceptions about CMSAF Bass?
Um, that's kind of hard. I don't know if there's misconceptions about Joe Bass. I guess I can only say I can probably speak to the first one first. So let me just do that. I think misconceptions about Chief Bass are she doesn't care about us. Like I've seen that before, right? Like it in comments, and that's probably furthest from the truth. Misconceptions. She likes to smoke people online. That's not quite true either.
Yeah.
You will, get a, what do they call it? Clap back. You will get a
Yeah.
clap back if it's just foolishness. But it's not true that that's my MO at all. And I don't think that that's any leader who wants to do that. So I might offer those as two misconceptions as Chief Bass. As Joe Bass, I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
All right. So I want to tie that in back into the one of the earlier questions asked about teaching the skill of detachment. like, how do you do that? Because you still have a, like, you, even now, like your job as CMSAF doesn't end. Like, you may not be the active CMSAF, but you're still in that capacity, whether it's on panels or people are still watching like what you do. And, but how do you, I mean, people are going to hate on you regardless, right? People hated on K-Wright. People hated on General Golfing, like, whoever. People hated on Toberman.
It's part of leadership, and I think that's an important aspect that
Yeah.
everybody has to realize is right, like leadership is putting you in an opportunity where you've got to be able to just make decisions. You've got to be able to lead, and leadership's not always easy. It's easy when it's easy, but
Yeah.
leadership isn't always easy, and it's not a popularity contest, and folks aren't always going to like you, and you have to be able to still lead through that. But yeah.
All right. We'll get into some lighter questions.
But
What is just
detachment. Well,
what?
tell me where were you going with detachment?
So because I struggle with that, and this is part of why I have the podcast too, because I'm learning from people, and I don't have just military people on my podcast. I have civilians, I have friends, family, authors, and I'm learning and uncovering layers about myself because it's people who've already went down this path that I want to journey down. So it's kind of like, okay, this is my guide, and I struggle because I'm human, and as much, and I try so hard to take care of people, and there's always going to be people who just talk trash about you or say this or you're toxic, and it's like, man, all I did was help you out, and it's, I know we shouldn't care about that, but it's hard not to, because it's like, man, I took time away from my family, or I used some of my personal finances to help
Yeah,
you out, all, my mental energy, and
yeah,
just to get crushed. It's like, damn, man. So it's just, that's where I struggle. And I think a lot of people, because uh it seems like with you on, like, people were either like loved you online or there was like the opposite. So it's like, what was
yeah,
your advice? Because you still have to show up every day for
yeah.
during your time for General Brown. So how do you just,
I love that question, to be honest. And I think a couple things that helped me during that time and still help me. First and foremost, you can't read all the comments. If you get sucked in to what people say about you, it could probably just destroy you, right? Crush you. Because we have too many folks out there that it's easy for them to do this, right? Like they'd never do it to your face, but it's easy for them. So a couple things. I had to guard my eyes and ears. Um, that was number one, and got that great advice from my husband. Always guide your eyes and ears, especially as a leader, because everything cannot be filtered to you, because it will distract you and take you away from your objective that you're trying to get after. So guide your eyes and ears. Two, you got to look at your own self in the mirror. And as long as I could look at my own self in the mirror and sleep well at night, knowing that everything that I've done has been to the best of my ability, that my character is intact. Like all those things matter, right? Like again, it gets back to he who puts the information out first wins, right? Like most of the things that we would see or hear or and even if it wasn't social media, even if it was things that are trickled down through the chain of command, and I'd talk to a young senior airman and ask them, hey, what do they think about this? And they heard something completely different from what we're doing. Again, that's part of the challenges we have in this information age that we're in. But I would say guard your eyes and ears, look at yourself in the mirror, and if you can sleep well at night, then right, like you're doing what you should be doing, and have a focus of continual growth, right? And have grace with each other and have grace with yourself. I am not perfect. I don't know anybody who is perfect. And so I'm constantly focusing on how do I continue to make myself better. In fact, that was one of my goals every single day, is to learn something new every day. Stay curious, lead with heart, lead with integrity, and do your part.
hey, thanks for sharing that. That was a fantastic answer. Yeah, that was good. All right. So,
Well,
uh,
good. I'm glad it wasn't bad, Martin.
that's what you're gonna write down in your journal, like something new, like don't talk to intel guys again. Like,
You never know what you're going to get. I'm actually going to refer Mike Perry to you so that he can.
He'd be like, "Who?" It
That's
doesn't
funny.
ring a bell. And it's so funny because we have like mutual friends, and like me again, I was like, dude, how you gonna forget me, man? Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll call. I have something I'm gonna say. If he and I ever talk, I have something I'm gonna say for him.
Don't
Where,
lose your name tag right there too.
yeah, oh, it's funny because K Wright remembers me, and whenever I run into him, and he'd be like, or maybe he's just better at playing it off, right? But it's so funny. All right, so I did want to ask one last question about your time as CMSAF and just working in the Pentagon. What's what's one of your favorite memories, or one favorite memory with you and maybe General Brown that people can't Google, or Google? What's something random that you're like, man, that was such a fun. Again, it could have been,
Yeah. Yeah.
talking about football the next day.
Um, I think some of my favorite memories will be that we didn't have a lot of time to sync, right? Like, I share with our leaders all the time, especially our chiefs, that the higher you go in the leadership chain, the less actual time you'll have with your bosses, right? And your subordinates. And so, as I continue to serve, the less time I had with my boss, infrequent touch points, and it's no different as Chief Master of the Air Force. Chief of Staff of the Air Force is busy doing their piece. I'm busy doing my piece. So we had to do a lot of dividing and conquering. But to make sure that we still stay connected at the hip, we had a weekly sync. And so every Sunday, we would call each other, and we would sometimes it was Zoom, sometimes it was a phone call, and we kind of go down our list of the things that we're working on. And so every Sunday I had an opportunity to talk to General Brown, the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, now the chairman, and just start to form a relationship that most people would never get. And so
Yeah.
I don't take that lightly. It was just an honor of a lifetime to serve with him and Miss Shireen. And then, just even breaking bread and having dinner with the Browns. We had some wonderful time. He makes a great brisket. We cooked Korean food for them. And so it just the memories that we had were really a privilege.
Thank you for sharing that. You didn't have to, and I appreciate it. One of my dear friends and mentors, she was his exec when he was the PACAF commander out in Hawaii, and she reveres him and just says only the most positive things. And when I was out in Hawaii, I had the opportunity to just be around him, to brief him once or twice, but very down to earth. And I'm so proud that an airman is the chairman. And even the
Yeah.
SEAC before was an airman,
Yeah.
right? And it's just man, wow, what a crazy time. That's a lifetime goal too. Last year I read the book Bomber Mafia by Malcolm Gladwell, and General Brown and General Goldfein are both referenced in that book, and I would love to do a podcast with them just talking about the principles of Bomber Mafia and just the all the great stuff that's in that book.
I love that.
All right, so all right, we'll go to some lighter questions. What book is on your nightstand right now?
A book called The Small and the Mighty.
Okay.
In fact, I like that book so much that I gifted it to Team 19 because I think that it's just a great book that it's different. It's different from a lot of the books that you see behind me that are kind of broken down by different sections. I have kind of a section of here's all the books written by veterans and military members, and then I have my books right here, which are all focused on the threat. Right, got a lot of China stuff and information warfare stuff. But this book, and some of my teammates might be like, "Why did she send me this book?" It was written by a professor that's kind of dubbed the America's government teacher. And that's kind of her nickname, if you will. But she really does highlight some of the unsung heroes that helped build our nation, people that you'll never hear of. And so I gifted that to my team, and I've been reading that, and it's really taught me a lot about some of our nation's history that I think I wouldn't get anywhere else.
Awesome. And I'll look, and I'm going to link that in the show notes. I'll
Yeah,
link the author
yeah.
and all that. No, that's really cool.
Another good one, and I think my husband turned me on to this one. I think I have the title right, but the 5 o'clock club. So check the 5 a.m. club. Check it out. Great principles. And when I was serving, well, so it applies now, but especially before I was serving. Like, man, you've got to have a battle rhythm. It's got to start early. You've got to be able to clear your head to be able to get some things done. So that's really a phenomenal book that Ron turned me on to. However, since I'm retired, I'm like, can we just call it the 7 a.m. club? Because I can do
Ish.
I can do all of that in a different 2 hour span.
You used to call it the magic hour, right? When you were CMSAF. Is that right?
I did. Well, I mean, I very much encourage folks like 4:35, get up, start your day,
Yeah.
get your PT in. And here's why. I'm a snoozer, like I'm a famous snoozer. I love to hit that button, but what I've learned over years and years of hitting snooze is you set yourself up for failure, right? Like you hit snooze enough that you end up just starting your day off completely wrong. And what I've learned over time that if you actually start your day with PT, you actually get it done, and nobody finishes PT and feels horrible. Like it
Yeah.
just you always feel great about it. Because again, years and years of me hitting snooze and saying, well, I'll just PT at about 5 p.m. It never happens.
Yeah.
Something always comes up. And so I start my day off right by pouring into me physically. Then I listen to a couple podcasts and pour into me mentally, and just kind of take care of the resilience piece of that.
And I'll link you my podcast because you'll probably forget my name.
You're so ridiculous.
So I can't. Like, you're not gonna live this down with me. If,
I can't wait.
it'd be hilarious. Like if you actually, for whatever reason, like if you invited me over for Christmas or Thanksgiving one year, I'd imagine you'd probably have the biggest name tag for me just to make
You're
sure.
so
Or,
ridiculous.
yeah. All right, so I want to do a little name game. I'm just gonna say a couple names. Just say the first word that comes to mind whenever you hear the person's name. First up, in one word, 2 words, whatever you want to say. General Brown.
The right leader at the right time.
Okay. Chad Van Cleve Goff.
Who? Oh, Van Cleve Goff,
Yeah.
a friend for life.
Yeah. He's a real one.
Yeah,
Mike Perry.
my brother.
Memory, like a Memory Mike. That's what we call him. That's what they call him out in the streets. Memory Mike. Amber Mitchell.
Super smart, my smart friend.
Yeah. Last one, Patrick Mahomes.
Best quarterback in the NFL.
I hate it. Hate it. A couple last questions to wrap it up. What historical figure do you most identify with?
Esther Blake.
Okay.
Except for she's actually my superhero. And here's why. Esther Blake, I say the historic figure that I resonate most with, she was the first. Anybody who studied for Air Force promotion test knows that, right? First woman to join the United States Air Force when military service was allowed to women on the first minute of the first hour of the first day. What makes her my superhero is she enlisted in the United States Air Force in her 50s. So I just need everybody to pause and think for a minute. If you're 50 years old, like how many people are saying, hey, I want to join the United States Air Force? You're right. Like, I mean, that just, I had to think back because I just retired, right? Like I'm 50. I know I don't look like it, Martin, but I'm 50. But I'm 50. Like that is, I mean, how selfless is that you say, hey, I want to be part of something greater? I think that's awesome.
Love it. You grew up in Oahu, right?
I did not. See, information warfare, man. I graduated high school from Oahu, Mililani, Hawaii, in fact. But I only lived there a couple years because my dad was in the military, and so we moved around all over the place. But it's interesting. Let me digress for a little
Sure.
bit. So here it is, June 2020. I get named Chief Master in the Air Force. I'm stationed in Biloxi. And the day they named me, by the way, like the phone started ringing off the hook in 2nd Air Force. And my exec at the time is answering the phone and she's like, Chief, all these media outlets are calling me. I don't know what to do. We weren't prepared for this, by the way. And she's like, they're calling me and they want to know what kind of Asian are you? And this is how it began, and we're like, what? And so I had to get very specific because the news in Hawaii was calling, by the way, as well, where I graduated high school. And I said, listen, Hawaiian people don't play. Like, you got to get this right? Like, my mom's Korean, my dad came from Germany, right? But I graduated from Hawaii, and next thing you know, they're telling me like parades and all this stuff. So it's a thing. The very next day, my sister calls me up and she's like, dude, you're in Wikipedia. And I'm like, what? Like, who put me in Wikipedia? So we look in Wikipedia. The whole family is like in Wikipedia looking. And my dad calls me up and my dad's a retired Army warrant officer. And he's like, hey, kiddo, can you tell them to fix my rank? I actually retired as a warrant officer, not a colonel. I'm like, dude, like I've got more things going on. Because most of the information about me in Wikipedia was wrong. Like, I have no idea who put it in there. There's armies, bot armies that are just putting in information about people, and anybody can update anything. And so that was part of that shock and awe of, wow, like, somebody can say, hey, she's full on Hawaiian, she's married 20 times, and everybody would be like, it's true.
So what I really want to know on the personal section of your Wikipedia, plot twist, is it was me who created it in 2020. No, I don't. What's your go-to Zippy's order?
Spam musubi.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was stationed there for 4.5 years.
Yeah. I mean, spam musubi and or galbi ribs. I mean,
Okay,
it's hard. Like, my galbi is really good, so.
cool. All right, last couple questions. We just got out of the holidays, and I thought this would be a fun question to ask you. If there was a Hallmark Christmas movie made about you, what would name, or you were the star of that movie, what would the name of that Hallmark Christmas movie be?
Martin, I am not lying. Your questions are so ridiculous. Had you run these through me beforehand, I'd have been like, nope, nope, no. Anyway, okay, Intel. I have no idea.
That's a great title.
It would be a Christmas baking show.
Okay.
Because I actually love to bake. Like that. In fact, I was a young staff sergeant, tech sergeant, and back then I created a whole business plan. I was actually going to get out and start my own bakery, clean bakery, that parents could also drop their kids off, and it was going to be like cooking classes and teaching kids about, customs and courtesies and how to bake a cake and all these fun things. So it'd be a baking Christmas series.
All right, cool. Last question. If there was a giant billboard with your picture on it for the world to see, with your leadership message on it, what would you want the billboard to say, and where would you want the billboard to be?
I would want it to say something to the fact of be purposeful, live with intention, serve one another, and make it count.
That's fantastic.
Yes. And where it would be, everywhere, right? Like, again, we live in this information age where we have to figure out ways to be able to communicate those messages to everybody.
Yeah. No, that's good. Do you have any parting thoughts or parting shots?
Think about it when somebody calls you up to do a podcast, find out if they're Intel. I'm joking. To all the Intel people, I love you. I was your command chief at Goodfellow for many, many years, but no. I would say, parting thoughts. Here's one I think that's very important. We probably don't talk about enough. So the parting thought is take care of yourself. Like, take care of, like, seriously, when I say take care of you, don't feel bad about it. There were many, many years that I would, as a leader and as a boss, share that advice with my peers, my subordinates, my teammates, and I'd be like, hey, take care of yourself, make sure you're taking care of your comprehensive airman fitness and all those things, but yet I was not doing the same. So again, unapologetically, my one piece of advice is take care of you. Don't feel bad about it. Self-care is not selfish. It's actually what you need because you can't pour from an empty cup. And so I'm a big fan, in fact, of the comprehensive airman fitness pillars: physical, social, spiritual, and mental. If any one of those pillars are off, then you're going to be off. So make sure that you're taking care of yourself. The last piece is make sure you're taking care of those around you, your loved ones, and your families. Because when you take this uniform off for your audience members who are serving, and every single one of us will take this off, whether it's 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, or 28 years, the people who matter most are your loved ones and your family, and you want them to be around when you take this uniform off.
That's great. That's incredible. What can I do for you? How can I best serve you?
Hey, keep doing what you're doing. Like this is important. You know, one of the other messages that I share, Martin, to people are just serve. And I say that to even folks who are no longer wearing the uniform. I'm like, continue serving. And what that means is, you know, serve in your communities, serve your neighbor, serve, you know, wherever you can, because life is about service to others. In fact, today, I don't know when this is going to air, but right now, you know, we're paying our respects to President Carter, you know, probably one of the ultimate servant leaders that we've ever had, serving, you know, in his late 90s and building homes and doing whatever he could for mankind. And so I would say to you, Martin, like, keep doing what you're doing. This is your gift. This is your talent. And you have an incredible, unique way of bringing it to light. So I would say keep doing what you're doing to make all of us just better human beings, so that we can keep doing our part.
Wow, I want to end on that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.